What if I told you that I discovered something so terrifying about death that I spent my years warning humanity about what's waiting for us on the other side? What if I told you that, as someone who has built entire career on facts and logic, I experienced something that made me question everything we believe about the afterlife? My name is Jung, and what I discovered about your soul's journey after death will keep you awake at night. This is not about religion, this is not about faith, this is about what I saw as a dying man when I crossed over to the other side and lived to tell about it. And what I brought back was so disturbing, so fundamentally different from what we've been told, that changes everything. Picture this. I was lying in a hospital bed, and my heart had stopped. The doctors were fighting to bring me back, but I wasn't there anymore. I was floating above my body, watching the chaos below, and suddenly I realized something horrifying. Death is not what anyone told you it would be. This is not a story about psychology, not a theory, not the ramblings of another academic. This is my personal experience of peering into the depths of the human psyche and discovering something that will shake you to your core. I am Jung, and what I found about death and the soul's journey afterward was so profound, so unsettling, that it changed everything I thought I knew about what comes next. I was not a mystic in the traditional sense. I was a scientist, a doctor, a man who had built his reputation on observable facts and measurable phenomena. But one day, something happened to me that shattered my scientific worldview and opened a door to mysteries that most of us only glimpse in our darkest dreams. It was 1944. I was 69 years old when I suffered a massive heart attack. But what happened next wasn't just a medical emergency. It was my journey into realms that exist beyond the veil of our everyday consciousness. I called it my near-death experience, but those who heard my account understood it was something far more significant. I described leaving my body not as imagination, not as hallucination, but as the most real experience of my entire life. I found myself floating above the earth, seeing it from a cosmic perspective that revealed truths about existence I had never imagined. But this was only the beginning. In that state, suspended between life and death, I encountered something that would haunt me for the rest of my days. I saw what I called the collective unconscious made manifest, not as a concept, not as a theory, but as a living, breathing reality that surrounds us all. And within that space, I discovered the truth about what happens to the soul after death. What did I see? I witnessed that the soul doesn't simply vanish when the body dies. Instead, it merges with something vast, something ancient, something that has been waiting for us since the beginning of time. I called it the eternal return to the source, but not in the way most religions describe it. According to what I experienced, when we die, our individual consciousness doesn't disappear. It becomes part of a greater tapestry, a collective soul that contains every human experience that has ever existed. Every thought, every emotion, every moment of joy and suffering becomes part of an infinite library of human experience. But here's where it gets chilling. I discovered that this isn't peaceful. It isn't the gentle rest that religions promise. Instead, I experienced it as an overwhelming flood of consciousness, where the soul is forced to experience not just its own life, but the lives of countless others. Every person you ever hurt, you experience their pain. Every moment of love you gave, you feel magnified 1,000-fold. I watched souls entering this realm, and what I saw disturbed me deeply. Some souls I witnessed couldn't handle the intensity. They fragmented, broke apart under the weight of infinite experience. Others became lost in the maze of consciousness, wandering forever through the memories of humanity. But my most unsettling discovery was yet to come. I realized that death is not an ending, but a transformation into something we cannot possibly comprehend while alive. The soul, I learned, becomes a mirror for all of humanity's experiences, reflecting back every action, every thought, every consequence that rippled through time. During my near-death experience, I encountered what I described as archetypal beings, ancient patterns of consciousness that exist in the collective unconscious. These weren't angels or demons, but fundamental aspects of human nature given form. The mother, the father, the shadow, the wise old man, all of them waiting in that space between life and death. And they had a message for me. They told me that every soul carries within it the entire history of human consciousness. When we die, we don't go to heaven or hell. We go home to the source of all human experience, and we become part of the eternal story that humanity has been writing since the beginning of time. But my revelation had a darker side. I witnessed that some souls resist this merger. They cling to their individual identity, fighting against the dissolution into the collective. These souls, I observed, become trapped in what I called the shadow realm, a place where individual consciousness persists but exists in eternal conflict with the collective. I saw these trapped souls during my experience, and what I witnessed was deeply disturbing. They were conscious, aware, but caught in an endless loop of their own psychological patterns. Their fears, their traumas, their unresolved conflicts played out eternally, creating a kind of psychological hell that was entirely of their own making. This was my most chilling insight. Hell isn't a place of external punishment. It's the state of a soul that refuses to let go of its individual suffering and merge with the healing power of the collective unconscious. These souls create their own torment by clinging to the very patterns that cause them pain in life. But there was more. I discovered that from this realm beyond death, souls could influence the living world, not as ghosts or spirits, but as archetypal forces that shape human behavior and experience. Every great idea, every creative breakthrough, every moment of profound insight comes from this collective reservoir of souls who have made the journey beyond death. I came to understand that artists, writers, and visionaries are simply more open to receiving these transmissions from the realm of the collective unconscious. They become channels for the wisdom of all who have died before them, bringing back fragments of eternal truth to share with the living world. My experience changed me profoundly. When I returned to my body, I was no longer the same man. I had seen the truth about death, and it was both more beautiful and more terrifying than anything I had ever imagined. I spent the rest of my life trying to prepare others for what awaits us all. I came to understand that the purpose of life is not to achieve individual success or happiness, but to prepare our souls for the great merger that comes after death. Every experience we have, every relationship we form, every challenge we face is training for the moment when we must let go of our individual identity and become part of something infinitely larger. But I also discovered something hopeful. I saw that souls who had learned to love unconditionally, who had faced their shadow and integrated it, who had lived authentically rather than hiding behind masks, these souls made the transition smoothly. They embraced the collective consciousness and became sources of wisdom and healing for both the living and the dead. This led to my most profound teaching. I realized that the work of individuation, becoming fully yourself while alive, is actually preparation for death. Every time we face our fears, every time we acknowledge our shadow, every time we choose authenticity over comfort, we are preparing our souls for the great journey that awaits us all. I often spoke of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that seem to indicate a deeper order to existence. After my near-death experience, I understood that these synchronicities are actually communications from the realm of the collective unconscious. The souls who have passed beyond death are constantly trying to guide and influence the living world, sending signs and messages to those who are ready to receive them. I discovered that dreams are one of the primary ways these communications occur. In our dreams, we connect with the collective unconscious and receive wisdom from the vast library of human experience that exists beyond death. Every nightmare, every prophetic dream, every vision that comes in sleep is actually a message from the realm of souls. But my most unsettling revelation was about time. I learned that in the realm beyond death, time doesn't exist as we know it. Past, present, and future are all one. The souls who have died can see the entire trajectory of human history, including events that haven't happened yet. They exist in a state of eternal now, where all possibilities exist simultaneously. This means that the souls of the dead are not just aware of what has been, but what will be. They can see the future of humanity, the challenges we will face, the growth we will experience. And they are constantly trying to prepare the living for what's coming, sending guidance and warnings through dreams, synchronicities, and intuitive insights. I discovered that some souls choose to return to physical life, not through reincarnation, as Eastern religions describe, but through a kind of conscious rebirth. These souls maintain their connection to the collective unconscious while inhabiting a new body, becoming what I call twice-born individuals who carry the wisdom of death into life. These twice-born souls often become spiritual teachers, healers, or visionaries. They have already experienced the dissolution of individual identity and the merger with the collective, so they can guide others through the process of psychological and spiritual transformation. I believed I was one of these twice-born souls, which is why I could access such profound insights about the nature of death and consciousness. But perhaps my most chilling insight was about the current state of humanity. I witnessed that we are living in an age where the collective unconscious is becoming restless. The souls of the dead are trying to communicate more urgently because humanity is approaching a critical threshold in its evolution. I saw that modern civilization has become disconnected from the deeper layers of consciousness that connect us to the realm of the dead. We have lost touch with the wisdom of our ancestors, the guidance of those who have passed beyond the veil. This connection is causing psychological and spiritual crisis on a massive scale. I came to believe that this crisis will continue to intensify until humanity learns to reconnect with the collective unconscious and the realm of souls that exist beyond death. I saw that the future of human civilization depends on our ability to bridge the gap between the living and the dead, to once again become conscious of our connection to the eternal source of human wisdom. In my final years, I often spoke of seeing the souls of the dead gathering, preparing for something momentous. I witnessed them waiting for humanity to reach a point of readiness, a moment when the veil between worlds would become thin enough for direct communication to occur. I believe this moment is approaching rapidly. The increasing reports of near-death experiences, the growing interest in consciousness research, the rising number of people claiming to receive messages from deceased loved ones, all of these are signs that the boundary between life and death is weakening. My ultimate message was both a warning and a promise. I warned that those who are unprepared for death, who have not done the work of individuation and shadow integration, will struggle in the transition to the collective unconscious. They may become trapped in the shadow realm, caught in endless cycles of their own psychological patterns. But I also promised that those who have lived authentically, who have faced their darkness and chosen love over fear, will find death to be the greatest adventure of their existence. They will merge smoothly with the collective unconscious and become part of the eternal wisdom that guides humanity forward. I often said that death is not the opposite of life, but its completion. Every moment we live is preparation for that final transformation, when we shed our individual identity and become part of something infinitely larger and more beautiful than we can imagine while trapped in physical form. I discovered that the soul's journey after death is not about judgment or punishment, but about integration and expansion. We don't go to a place, we become a state of being. We don't meet God, discover that we have always been part of the divine consciousness that creates and sustains all existence. But I also warned that this truth can be overwhelming for minds that are not prepared for it. This is why I realized most people create beliefs about heaven and hell, about individual survival after death. These beliefs are protective mechanisms that shield us from the overwhelming reality of our true nature. The truth, according to what I experienced, is that we are all connected at the deepest level. Every soul that has ever lived continues to exist as part of the collective unconscious. When we die, we don't lose our individuality completely. We discover that our individuality was always an illusion, a temporary focusing of the eternal consciousness that is our true nature. My final insight was perhaps my most profound. I realized that the purpose of individual life is to contribute to the evolution of consciousness itself. Every experience we have, every lesson we learn, every moment of growth and transformation becomes part of the eternal library of human wisdom. When we die, we don't just return to the source, we enrich it. We add our unique perspective, our individual story, our personal discoveries to the collective reservoir of consciousness. In this way, death is not an ending but a graduation, a moment when we finally understand our true purpose in the cosmic story of consciousness exploring itself. I often spoke of the profound loneliness I felt after my near-death experience, knowing truths that few others could understand. But I also felt a deep sense of responsibility to share what I had learned, to help prepare others for the journey that awaits us all. I said that if people truly understood what happens after death, they would live very differently. They would focus less on accumulating material possessions and more on developing their consciousness. They would spend less time avoiding pain and more time integrating their experiences. they would realize that every moment of life is an opportunity to prepare for the ultimate adventure of death. And now the question remains, are you ready to hear what I discovered about your own soul's destiny? Are you prepared to face the truth about what awaits you beyond the veil of death? Because according to what I learned, whether you're ready or not, the journey toward that ultimate transformation has already begun. Every dream you have, every moment of intuition, every synchronicity you experience is a message from the realm beyond death, preparing you for the moment when you will finally understand who you truly are and what you came here to accomplish. If you've listened this far, I would say it's not a coincidence. It's a sign that your soul is beginning to remember, that you're starting to prepare for the great adventure that awaits us all. The collective unconscious is calling to you, inviting you to begin the work of transformation that will determine how you experience the journey beyond death. Don't leave this message unanswered. In the comments below, share what you felt while hearing these words. Did my insights resonate with something deep inside you? Or simply leave a sign, a heart, a word, anything that says you heard the call. Because those who come after need to know they're not alone in this journey toward understanding. They need to see that others have heard the whisper of the collective unconscious and are preparing for the ultimate adventure of death and transformation. Share this with someone who might be ready to hear my chilling truth about what really happens to the soul after death. The souls beyond the veil are waiting for us to remember who we truly are. The question is, will you answer their call?